Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today's session is going to be very important, especially if you are starting your Terraform journey with Azure. So, in this live session, we will clearly understand what is the Terraform block, what is the provider block, how Terraform connects to the Azure, and how to create multiple Azure resource group dynamically using for each. So, I already gone you the last 3 points what I have speak out right now. Okay, but the for each one is the new one here, so please be here. Yeah, let me create a folder 26 and today is 28. Okay, 28 12 2025, and let me copy only main.tf. Let me open VS Code terminal and let me confirm on which account it is logged in. Okay, so for that I am going to run command as a account. So yeah, correct one. Yeah. So by the end of this session, you will be confident enough to write your first production ready Terraform configuration for Azure. Okay. So today agenda, if I'll talk about then Terraform block. Okay. Why it exists and the required provider and version control, Azure RM provider configurations, creating multiple resource group using for each real world use case with best practice. So let's get started here. And if you can see that Terraform block line number 1 to 10. Okay. So what is the Terraform block? So Terraform block defines global configuration settings for your project. Okay. So think of it as rules and dependencies that Terraform must follow before running anything. Okay. So required version, if I talk about, this means that Terraform version 1.0.0 or higher must be installed. Okay, and if you have older version, will fail immediately. Okay, immediately. So be careful while you running the code now. So why this is important? So Terraform introduces breaking changes. Okay, ensure consistency across developer machines, CI/CD pipeline, production deployments. Okay, if you are sharing your code to any other team members, so it should be consistency across your machine to their machines. Okay, so we need same version and all. So that is the important for. So this is a best practice and should always be used in real projects. Okay, so if I talk about that real required provider from here to here. So this block tells Terraform which cloud provider plugins are required. Okay. So and where to download them from and which versions are allowed. Okay. So if you can see Azure RM provider. Okay. So used to manage Azure resources. If I talk about Azure RM provider means used to manage Azure resources and it maintained by HashiCorp. Okay, and it will pull from the Terraform registry. So why specify provider version? Okay, so you can ask question to me, why specify provider versions? So to prevent accidental upgrades, to avoid breaking changes, to keep infrastructure stable. So for that we are using provider version. Okay, this is the most important questions in interviews. So be careful while you are answering it. Now come to that provider Azure RM block. Okay, this one. So what is the provider block? So the provider block configure how Terraform talks to Azure. Okay, this block only helps Terraform. So if you have questions like which cloud, how to authenticate, and what features are enabled, like that you have you must arise a question on that. So let me explain one by one. So if you can see line number 13, feature curly braces open and close. So this is the mandatory from Azure RM provider version 2.0 plus. Means if you are using that Azure RM provider version more than 2.0 or greater than 2.0, so you must have to write this feature block. Okay, this is the mandatory one. Okay, so now even if empty it must be present, so be careful on that. So enable default internal provider features. So whatever the default internal provider features were there, it will take automatically. So if you forget this block, means Terraform will throw an error and your code will not run. So authentication. So if I'll talk about authentication, means Terraform automatically picks authentication from Azure CLI. Okay, like if you are doing, if I am doing agent login from there, it will take. Okay, and if it is in CI/CD, then it will take through the service principal. Okay, and if we are using Azure hosted agent, then we have manage identity there to make it authenticate. Okay, that's why you don't see credential hard coded anywhere. Okay, so creating Azure resource group using for each, this is the important. So let me, okay, so Azure resource group using for each, we are going to write the code for that. And now I am going to delete all these stuff not required here. Let me take the code. Yeah, I taken this code. So Here, I'll explain you one by one. So be patient on your seat. Okay. So what is Azure RM underscore resource underscore group? So an Azure resource group is, you know what, a logical container. I already explained you lots of time. So this is a logical container. So used to group Azure resources like, VMs, storage account, AKS, database, SQL Server, and all everything you can have inside that particular resource group. Okay. So Terraform manages it as a first class resource. Okay, this resource group. So understanding for each, we can say, okay. So for each allows Terraform to create multiple instances. Okay, from a single resource block. Okay, if we have a single resource block means from line number 27 to 17 to 26, it is a single block only, and from this block we can create multiple resource like resource group, virtual machines, database, like that we can create. So how we are passing a map? Okay, so if you can see, DC1 apps equal to East US, DC2 apps equal to East US 2, DCP3, DC3 apps equal to West US. So here, you know, key. If I talk about the key is your logical identifier. Okay, key is your logical identifier, and value is your Azure region. Okay, means if it will create a resource group, it will create on the name of DC1 apps, DC2 apps, DC3 apps, but and it is called as a key one. Before the equal to we called as t key. Okay, and in value we already have the Azure region here. So how Terraform interprets this? So for each entry in the map, each dot key, this one, each dot key is, you know, that is our resource identifier, and each dot value is our location. So this is, I can say, dynamic resource naming. I'll copy this whole code. Yeah. So if I'll talk about dynamic resource naming, so if you can see, this line, and this line only, okay. So this line only we can say that dynamic resource naming is there. So this produces what? If I'll write it here, The first one will be DC1 apps dash RG. This will take 2 and this will take 3. Okay. So this produces this one, DC1 apps dash RG, DC2 apps RG, DC3 apps dash RG. So from here, what I have written here as a dollar curly braces is dot key, it will get replaced one by one by this name. What I have mentioned in for each key one. Okay, this is the key. This is the value. Okay, so no hard coding, only fully dynamic we can say and highly scalable. Okay, and dynamic location we have. Okay, each dot value. So this ensures each resource group is created in the correct region, and region mapping is centralized in one place. Okay, so this was the reason behind that. Now I'll run this code. That is that Terraform init. Why we got this error? I don't know. Let it again start. Terraform init. Spelling is correct. Now it got success. Okay. Now I'll run Terraform plan. Okay. Now you can see that three resource group is creating. Okay. Here. So you know if we have some interview questions, I can say here. Okay. And one more question in interviews I asking, why use for each instead of count? You must have answers for that. So use for each when each resource needs a unique name. Okay, and you want stable resource addressing, that time you can also use for each, and you may add or remove entries later. Okay, so that in that case we can use that for each. And when we need to avoid count. Okay, so when we have when order matters. Okay, and resource may be deleted individually, that time we need to avoid count. Okay, so in real projects we can see that one resource group per environment. Okay, and one per applications we can say, and one per region. So if I'll talk about example, so we can have dev east US, dash rg, like that we can create. Okay, and for prod we can have prod dash west us dash rg. And if we have a shared one rg, then we can have shared network dash rg. So this pattern scales extremely very well, okay, while you are going through that pipeline. And that for best practices, always you will need to define Terraform version as well as the provider version, and never hard code any credential in the code, okay, especially when you are using, yeah, your pipeline. So for each use for each for any scalable infrastructure, and keep naming consistent, okay. Centralize region and environment logic, it should be there. So let me terraform do the terraform apply auto dash approve. So once it will get created, I'll try to wind up this, okay, after showing the exact resource what we want to create. It is creating, so let me watch here. And resource group, it must be have the name given there only, yeah. And let me do refresh. Yeah, you can see dc1 apps, dc2 apps, dc3 apps, three resource group is created, okay. So that's it for today's live session, okay. If you understand terraform block, provider block, forage uses, so you are already ahead of many beginners, okay. And in this next session I will go a little bit uh, you know tough or more complicated, I can say, but it will get comparatively very less less things, okay. So if you found this helpful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with your DevOps friend. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next live session, guys. See you later.